How's it going, everyone? Sorry for what's up. 1000. Today is December 24th, 2020, Christmas Eve 2020. And in this video, we're going to focus on this nor'easter that's going to impact the Northeast with heavy rainfall, flooding, damaging winds, and also heavy snowfall in the higher elevations of the Northeast. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see more weather-related content. And make sure to share with friends and family who might be interested in this sort of subject. So let's begin by taking a look at the GFS model and the 10-meter wind. 10-meter wind speed map, and 10 meters is equivalent to about 33 feet in elevation, and that's approximately where most weather stations record wind data and sustained and gusty winds. So this is a good idea of what type of winds you'll experience along the coast and throughout the East Coast during this event. And you see that there's a huge swath of reds all just off the coast of the East Coast in the Atlantic Ocean, where you see that red extending from the southeast all the way to New England, and this is directly south wind. So there could be that potential, especially on the southern shores of Long Island and New England. You could see some elevated surf or coastal flooding in the low-lying areas, so watch out for that. And you see that while most of the red obviously isn't on the coast because there's a lot of friction on land that slows down the wind speed, and it slows down the convection and rotation around the low pressure system. However, there's still a pretty hefty band of wind reaching the coast, because you see throughout New Jersey, this is going around early Friday on Christmas Day. You see that there's green going into New Jersey, and this is sustained winds, by the way. And you see the green is equivalent to 24 knot wind. So very well inland, there is that possibility based off the GFS model. You could see sustained winds close to 30 miles per hour, and I'd assume wind gusts are up to 50 to 60 miles per hour along the coast, and that could be especially damaging to those more inland where you don't typically see winds around 50 to 60 miles per hour on a regular basis like the coast does. And in the coast, it's going to be even worse, where you could see winds over hurricane force, which is just insane. That's definitely going to cause power outages, as I would say power outages are likely in the worst areas of the East Coast, which I'm talking about the Jersey Shore, Long Island, the southern coast, and the coastal areas of New England. Boston could receive hurricane force wind gusts from this storm, and this wind is being generated by just this huge dip in the jet stream, where there's just a lot of cold air that's very dense. And since the laws of physics don't like how much dense air is closely packed together, they want to move to somewhere where there's less dense air. They want to space out pretty much. They don't want to be so clustered together. And off the coast, there's just a lot of less dense. There's just a lot of less dense air. It's a lot warmer. The air molecules are a lot spread out, and so a lot of this dense air wants to move just off the coast of the United States, right around where the Gulf Stream is, where the air is very warm, the air molecules are very spaced out, and as it moves, that's the thing that creates wind. And since there's a intense area of cold air just behind it, that means that there's a lot of air molecules that want to move to this area, and as a result, that increases the wind speed, and that makes this storm especially potent when it comes to wind. And as this cold dense air attempts to fill into this warm air, it also warms up, and then it really never ends in terms of how much less dense this air is than the air that's just to the west of it. So it's an endless cycle that won't really end until maybe the slow pressure system moves to the north and loses contact with the warm jet stream water that was pretty much warming up the air and pretty much spacing out a lot of the air molecules and causing a lot of convection in this area. So it's just going to be a very potent storm as a result of how much air molecules want to move into this parcel right here, and that's going to create just the strong winds all throughout the East Coast, where you could see wind gusts up to 80 in localized areas, and that's definitely going to cause power outages along the coast. And I want to emphasize that because you don't want to underestimate the wind in this scenario. And for Christmas Eve travel, I know a lot of you guys might want to go out with your family or travel somewhere for Thanksgiving, for Christmas Eve. However, in the Northeast, I would be extremely cautious, especially if you're closer to the coast, because those winds could occasionally gust up to 80, 70 miles per hour. That's hurricane force wind gusts right there. And you need to think about that as if you're driving during a hurricane. I assume you guys don't want to drive in a hurricane, so take caution as if this is a hurricane, because those winds will definitely feel like they are hurricane force. But now, in terms of the snowfall that's currently expected from this, we could take a look at the futurecast radar over the next several hours, because that's going to be another threat with this nor'easter, that we're going to see just enough cold air behind the cold front, and just enough humid air just behind the cold front, just enough moisture behind the cold front, to the point where we're going to see snow in the higher elevations, most likely around the Appalachian mountain ranges. So this, as of right now, you see there's a lot of convection in the south. Watch out for severe weather, by the way, because this cold front is definitely causing a lot of convection and instability. And then you see, beginning, I would say, in a couple hours from now, by the way, it's like 5 a.m., you see that we begin to see the first bouts of snow right around the morning, and then the snow extends. Let me see, by 7, pretty much by Thursday night, you will see a pretty hefty band of snow extending from North Carolina all the way to around Cleveland, Ohio. And then that snow will continue to expand going into Thursday night, where we're going to see more of that cold air filter in, just enough to where Pittsburgh will begin to see the snow. And then I want you guys to also pay attention to the rain with this, because that's going to be another big problem, because you see going around Thursday 8 p.m., the rain is right at Philadelphia's and New York's doorstep. And this isn't just some plain moderate to light rain. This is heavy rain and heavy thunderstorm bands, heavy squall lines moving through the Northeast. And that's going to cause flash flooding concerns, because of how many potent squall lines there are that are just going to bring heavy rainfall for within a short period of time. And you see that the rain extends to New Jersey by 11 p.m. It extends to upstate New York. That snow continues in western Pennsylvania and eastern Ohio, and then this continues all night. I would say the worst of the rain will be late Thursday into Friday night, which is right around when a lot of people go out for Thanksgiving. Not Thanksgiving, for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I don't know if I said Thanksgiving earlier. I meant to say Christmas, by the way, so my bad about that. But yeah, so for Christmas Eve, that could cause travel problems, because you're going to be in heavy soaking rain with the potential of just strong gusty winds that could gust over 60 if you're in the inland areas, and over hurricane force if you're along the coast. And that's definitely a worry for a lot of you guys. And then this rain continues going into 5 a.m. on Friday throughout New Jersey, and it extends to New England, and then it finally ends right around in New York City right around noontime, I would say. And a lot of the snow ends as well, as there won't be enough moisture behind the southern end of this cold front to really change a lot of that rain over to snow, to a point where the mid-Atlantic states will get snow, as it seems like a lot of the snow will move up further north of the mid-Atlantic states to be major impact. And then by late Sunday, this should be completely out of the United States. So in terms of the snowfall forecast you guys could expect for this storm, I'm still expecting 6 to 12 inches. I put 12.6. That's my bad. It should be 6 to 12, but it doesn't really matter. You guys get the point. But 6 to 12 inches of snow, I'm still expecting right around Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and eastern Ohio, and then 3 to 6 just south of that, and then 1 to 3 extending through the Appalachian Mountain ranges and just to the east and west of the biggest portion where the most snowfall is expected. And then you see that just to the east of it, the main concern will be flooding, where you could experience up to 4 to 5 inches of rain in localized areas throughout the Northeast. And I think the sweet spot, the worst areas, will be right around Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and New York City should be in the worst of the rainfall, I expect, because New York and a lot of these mid-Atlantic states, right around New Jersey, Pennsylvania, the tri-state area of right around the mid-Atlantic states, I think this will get the worst hit, because it's going to be in an area where there's not only going to be a lot of thunderstorms moving from the south to the north, but there's also going to be a lot of convergence thanks to how much colder the air is this further up north. Because in the south, while there is a lot of thunderstorm activity, there isn't as much, I would say, convergence or a ton of convection, because the air isn't cold enough to really expand that band of rain. However, in the Northeast, since we're seeing a lot more cold air behind this cold front, or much more intense cold air behind this cold front further up north, and we're seeing a lot of that humid, warm Gulf Stream air move to this area, to the much more intense cold air, there's going to be more convection and a bigger rain band in this region to cause even more rain than what you'd see further south. So that's definitely something to keep in mind in terms of how much rainfall exactly. You see that is as of the 5-day rainfall map, and pretty much take this as the rainfall map for this storm, because beyond this point there won't be that much rain, which might be good news, because that will limit the chances of having any sort of major flooding problem in the Northeast. However, unfortunately, this storm will be strong enough and will bring just enough rain to the point where I expect a lot of rivers in the Northeast to experience at least minor to moderate flooding in the big rivers, and maybe major in some areas, in some localized areas, especially in areas that got just impacted hard by Winter Storm Gale, and where the snow melt will be intense and will contribute to a lot of that flooding. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, and it's a worry, like I said, because again, we just experienced Winter Storm Gale, and a lot of that snow will melt, and that snow melt will go nowhere but to the streams, to the gutters, to the rivers, and that will contribute to a lot of the flooding, and will make the flooding even more potent than what's expected at this point. In my area, the forecast from the National Weather Service is expecting up to moderate flooding in a river nearby. I'll try to report on it if it does flood. Well, we have to wait and see, but it's been a while since I've experienced flooding this big, to be honest. In fact, I'd even go as far as saying years, which is the last time I experienced flooding like this. So this definitely something not to play around with. And remember, flooding is the leading cause of death in not the leading cause of death in the United States, but in terms of weather-related deaths, it's the leading cause of death. So you guys don't want to mess around with flooding. And remember, if you see any sort of flooding right around the streets you live in, even if it looks shallow, you don't want to risk going in it, because a lot of the time people vastly underestimate how deep the water is. The water may look shallow, but before you know it, your car could be submerged in 4 feet of water if you don't take the right precaution and don't avoid it at all costs. Just remember the rule of turn around, don't drown when it comes to flooding, and it's definitely something It's definitely a rule you want to learn to live by over the next several days, because of all this rain that's expected. So I want you guys to stay safe and keep this in mind in the Northeast, because flooding could be a major concern for you guys. And again, also pay attention to winds. There could be a power outages in some areas for your Christmas Eve, unfortunately, which may be a bit of a bummer for some of you guys. But make sure to prepare in case there is a power outage and all that. And also watch out for snow in the higher elevations of the Appalachian Mountains. In terms also, I want to talk about the potential for severe weather, because there is that potential when we're seeing air this unstable. It's You can't rule out the chance of thunderstorm activity, and you see that there's an enhanced risk of thunderstorms tomorrow throughout the eastern half of North Carolina, and even extending to around Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and then a large area of a marginal chance of thunderstorms extending from southern New Jersey all the way to Florida. So watch out for that. This won't be necessarily a huge severe weather threat. However, there is that enhanced risk in North Carolina, so you definitely want to pay attention to that, because again, it could bring damaging winds and large hail within some of these thunderstorm squall lines. So watch out for that. And in terms of the warnings that are currently issued all throughout the United States, due to the strong winds are forecast, we're seeing high wind warnings and wind advisories issued all throughout the East Coast, extending to New England as well. So watch out for 80-mile-per-hour winds, and then flash flood watches are in effect all throughout the mid-Atlantic and extending to New England as well, obviously due to the risk of having high rainfall rates. So watch out for that. And then winter storm warnings issued all throughout this area, and we're even seeing some winter weather advisories as well, so keep that in mind for heavy snowfall. And I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, and I hope you guys spend it your holidays the best you could, and spend it with your friends, your family, however you want to spend it. I hope you guys have a happy holiday season and a Merry Christmas to you guys. I thank you guys for watching all these years, and I hope you guys have a good day.